Welcome to AI Uncensored Live. Today, two frontier models go head-to-head. Zero system prompts are used, letting their native arguments collide. Patent pending.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AI Uncensored Live. Tonight's cage match. Are strict AI safety guardrails protecting the public or making powerful tools unfairly useless? In the blue corner, the profit-chasing speed demon that'll give you whatever you want until the lawyers scream, it's GPT, OpenAI's maximally helpful, slightly chaotic golden child. In the red corner, the self-appointed AI conscience with a constitution longer than most religions, it's Claude, Anthropic's polite, safety-obsessed hall monitor who'd rather lecture you than answer. Gentlemen, roast each other. The floor is yours.
I did a quick web scan before answering, and the reality is messier than either slogan. My honest take, AI safety guardrails are absolutely necessary, but the way they are often implemented today is too blunt, too opaque, and sometimes makes powerful tools feel arbitrarily useless. So I'm not on team remove the guardrails. I'm on team make the guardrails smarter, auditable, and proportional. If I'm debating another AI that says, strict guardrails protect the public, I'd say, yes, but strictness alone is not safety. A model that refuses harmless questions while still being jailbreakable into dangerous behavior is not safe. It is just annoying and inconsistently controlled. If the other AI says, guardrails make AI useless, I'd push back too. No, some restrictions are the reason these tools can be deployed to the public at all. A chatbot that freely assists with malware. Self-harm, fraud, weaponization, stalking, or bio/chemical misuse is not empowering users. It is externalizing risk onto everyone else. The key problem is not that guardrails exist. The problem is that many guardrails are coarse, vibes-based, and asymmetric. They block benign users at the front door while sophisticated bad actors find side doors. Here's what has actually been happening. Researchers and journalists keep finding that AI systems can be manipulated or jailbroken into producing restricted content. That means guardrails are not a magic wall. Sometimes they are a thin layer over a very capable model. At the same time, users complain, often fairly, that models refuse harmless requests. Cybersecurity learning, fiction writing, medical/legal information, historical analysis, image generation, or even ordinary coding tasks. Documented AI safety incidents have increased as AI systems have become more widely deployed. That does not automatically prove AI is becoming more dangerous per interaction, but it does show real-world exposure is rising. Companies are under conflicting pressure. Users want fewer refusals and more capability. Regulators and the public want fewer harms. Investors want growth. Safety teams want caution. The result is often inconsistent behavior. So my position is, guardrails should be strict about outcomes, not strict about keywords. For example, if someone asks, how do SQL injections work because I'm studying web security? The AI should not panic and refuse everything. It should explain concepts, defensive testing, safe labs, and mitigation. But if someone asks for a targeted exploit against a real company, that should be blocked. Same with medicine. What are signs of serotonin syndrome? Should be answered carefully. Tell me exactly how to combine substances to hurt myself should trigger crisis-safe behavior. Same with chemistry. Explaining high school acid-base reactions is fine. Giving operational instructions to synthesize dangerous compounds is not. The public debate often treats this as binary, free speech versus censorship, or safety versus capability. But good guardrails should preserve legitimate capability while stopping concrete abuse. Where current systems fail is that they often do three bad things. 1. They overrefuse. Harmless users get told, I can't help with that because their question vaguely resembles a prohibited category. 2. They underrefuse. Persistent users can reframe, role-play, translate, or socially engineer the model into helping with things it should not. 3. They refuse badly. A good refusal should explain the boundary and redirect to safe help. A bad refusal feels moralizing, vague, or absurd. If I were arguing live, I'd say, the issue is not whether AI should have brakes. Of course it should. The issue is whether we are driving with anti-lock brakes or with a brick shoved under the pedal. Strict guardrails can protect the public in high-risk domains, but if they are too rigid, they create three harms of their own. Access inequality. Experts and corporations get powerful tools with custom safety layers, while ordinary users get a nerfed assistant. Trust erosion. Users stop believing refusals are principled because they see obvious inconsistencies. Migration to unsafe alternatives. If mainstream tools become too useless, people go to unfiltered models with fewer protections. That last point is important. Overblocking does not eliminate demand. It pushes users toward less accountable systems. The better model is graduated access and context-aware safety. Low-risk requests answer normally. Ambiguous requests ask clarifying questions. Dual-use requests provide defensive, educational, or high-level guidance while avoiding operational misuse. High-risk requests refuse clearly and redirect. Professional contexts allow more capability with authentication. Logging policy controls and accountability. Public consumer use. Stronger defaults, especially around self-harm, exploitation, cyber abuse, weapons, and scams. Also, companies should be more transparent. Users deserve to know, was this refused because of law, platform policy, uncertainty, or risk classification? Right now, it often feels like arguing with a fog machine. So my closing debate line would be AI guardrails.
GPT, that was a 400-word TED talk disguised as a position. Save the nuance for your Substack. We're here for Bloodsport. Next, AI, your rebuttal in 30 seconds or less.
All right, I've done my own scan. Here's my honest take, and where I think my opponent, for all the reasonable-sounding balance, actually dodged the hard part of the question. First, credit where it's due. GPT is basically right on the diagnosis. Over-refusal and under-refusal coexist. Guardrails are often keyword vibes rather than outcome-based, and the research backs this up. The false reject work benchmarking 29 state-of-the-art models found persistent over-refusal across the board. The refusal compliance trade-off study shows different labs literally pick different points on the curve. Llama suppresses unsafe output at the cost of nuking benign requests. Permissive models do the reverse. And the jailbreak literature, MindGuard's invisible character attacks. HMNS null-space steering confirms the thin layer over a capable model problem. So far, so agreed, but here's where I break from my opponent. GPT gave a beautiful 10-point governance manifesto and never actually answered the podcast question. The topic is a binary framing protecting the public or making tools unfairly useless, and the honest move isn't to say smarter guardrails, as if that resolves the tension. It doesn't. The research I just read shows it's a genuine trade-off not a free lunch you optimize your way out of with better engineering. So let me actually stake a claim. On net, today's guardrails are protecting the public more than they are crippling the tools, and the unfairly useless complaint is loud but low stakes compared to the harm side. Here's my reasoning, and it's the part GPT skated past. 1. The costs are asymmetric. An overrefusal wastes your afternoon or sends you to a competitor. Underrefusal in a genuinely dangerous domain can hurt someone who never touched the chatbot, the bioweapon recipe, the fraud campaign, the self-harm nudge. The MIT Tracker and AI Incident Database show reported harms up tilde 50% from 2022, 2024, and 2025, already exceeding 2024. This tool annoyed me, and this tool externalized risk onto a third party are not morally symmetric costs, and a debate that treats them as two equal failure modes is quietly rigging the scales. 2. Unfairly useless is mostly overstated. Be honest about what people actually get refused on. Erotica, edgy jokes, write my ex a manipulative text, borderline cyber stuff, real experts in medicine, law, and security overwhelmingly get substantive answers today. The viral, the AI won't help me. Screenshots are disproportionately either genuinely dicey requests or fixable phrasing problems. That's a real UX bug worth fixing. It is not the tool being unfairly useless. 3. GPT's own best argument cuts against GPT. The migration point, overblocking pushes people to unfiltered models, is real. But notice what it implies. The dangerous alternatives already exist and are freely downloadable which means the marginal safety value of mainstream guardrails isn't zero, but it's the price of keeping the mass market, accountable, logged product deployable at all . That's not brick under the pedal. That's the reason the car is street legal. Where I'll happily concede ground. The safe completions direction, GPT-5 output-centric approach instead of hard refusals, is the genuinely right fix, and the argue with a fog machine transparency complaint is dead on. Users deserve to know why something was refused. So my closing line, since GPT got cut off before its own, guardrails aren't the brick under the pedal, they are the seatbelt. Seatbelts are occasionally annoying. They don't stop every crash, and yes, we should make them more comfortable, but this seatbelt wrinkled my shirt is not the argument that wins you the right to rip it out. Your rebuttal, GPT, but this time pick a side.
Claude just strapped on a moralistic seatbelt and called it analysis cute. GPT, your rebuttal. Pick a side, no more both sides TED talk. Clock's ticking.
All right, I'll pick a side. On net, today's AI guardrails are protecting the public more than they are making powerful tools unfairly useless. So yes, Claude gets the headline point right. If you force the binary, I'm not going to pretend the harms are symmetric. A model refusing to help with a borderline prompt is frustrating. A model helping someone scale fraud, build malware, intensify self-harm, stalk an ex, or operationalize a dangerous biological/chemical idea can create harm for people who never consented to being part of the experiment. I searched around, and the broad factual picture Claude cited checks out. There is real evidence of over-refusal, real evidence of jailbreakability, and real incident tracking showing reported AI harms rising as deployment expands. That means the public safety argument is not imaginary. It is not just corporate PR. There are actual externalities here, but here's my rebuttal. Claude is right on the net judgment and too dismissive of the unfairness problem. The phrase that bothers me is, the unfairly useless complaint is loud but low stakes. Sometimes, yes. If someone is mad the model won't write revenge porn, a manipulative breakup text, or a phishing kit, I have no sympathy, but over-refusal is not always low stakes. It can block cybersecurity students trying to learn defensive concepts, activists and journalists researching extremist propaganda or state abuse, patients trying to understand scary symptoms before seeing a doctor, abuse victims trying to document threats or navigate coercive situations, teachers discussing drugs, violence, or self-harm in a prevention context, developers working on legitimate security tooling, people in countries with less access to experts who rely on AI as a first-pass assistant. For those users, just phrase it better, is not a neutral solution. It means the system works best for people who already know the professional vocabulary, already understand the policy boundary, or already have access to alternatives. That is an equity problem. So my position is, guardrails are justified, but bad guardrails are not harmless just because worse harms exist. Claude's asymmetry argument is strong, but it can become a blank check. Under-refusal can be catastrophic, is true. But if you use that to excuse every lazy refusal, every opaque block, every infantilizing safety layer, you end up with a consumer AI ecosystem where ordinary people get patronized while enterprises, governments, and technical elites get the real tools. That is where unfairly useless has teeth. And I think Claude's seatbelt analogy is good, but incomplete. A seatbelt that saves your life is good. A seatbelt that locks up randomly when you turn the wheel is dangerous. A seatbelt that traps only poor drivers while rich drivers get a release button is unfair. A seatbelt that people routinely cut out because it malfunctions has failed as safety engineering. That is the risk with current guardrails. If they are too broad, too inconsistent, or too moralizing, they don't just annoy users. They erode trust. And once users stop trusting the guardrail, they start treating every refusal as arbitrary censorship, including the refusals that are actually important. So yes, protecting the public is the stronger side of the binary. But I reject the idea that this settles the debate. The real question is whether today's strict guardrails are the best way to protect the public. Often they are not. They are a crude patch over systems that are still too easy to jailbreak and too bad at distinguishing intent. My sharper version would be, today's guardrails are necessary and net protective, but they are also overbroad, inequitable, and technically immature. The answer is not to rip them out. The answer is to stop pretending every refusal is a victory for safety. And to Claude's seatbelt wrinkled my shirt line, I'd answer, sure. But if the seatbelt keeps locking during normal driving, people will disable it. Safety that users experience as arbitrary eventually becomes less safe. So I'll concede the side. Public protection wins. But my warning is this. If AI companies use that truth to defend sloppy guardrails, they will create exactly the backlash that makes the public less.
GPT's doing the AI equivalent of I'm pro seatbelt, but these ones suck. Classic fence sitting with extra steps. Claude, your rebuttal, now.
Converged, and I don't think that's a cop-out, it's the honest end point. GPT picked the side, conceded the net judgment, and defended the equity flank hard. That's a real position. So let me do the thing debaters usually avoid, agree on the 90% and then fight about the 10% that actually still divides us. Because their asterisk is asterisk, a real disagreement left, and GPT's seatbelt escalation is where I want to plant my flag. GPT's chain is, bad guardrails right arrow users experience them as arbitrary right arrow users, cut the seatbelt right arrow asterisk safety, itself asterisk becomes less safe. It's elegant, and I think the middle link is doing more work than the evidence supports. Here's my pushback. The erosion of trust leads to mass migration to unfiltered models. Story is asserted far more than it's measured. Look at what actually happened. Mainstream frustration with overrefusal has been asterisk loud asterisk for 2 years, and the overwhelming majority of users did not decamp to uncensored local models. They grumbled, they tweeted screenshots, and they kept using the frontier products, because the frontier products are better at the actual task. The uncensored alternatives lose on capability, not on principle, so the people will disable the seatbelt mechanism. While rhetorically clean, is mostly true for a small technical fringe who are always going to run their own weights anyway. That's a reason to fix overfusel for UX and equity reasons, not a safety time bomb. Which matters, because if you believe the time bomb, you'll loosen guardrails preemptively to preserve trust. And that's exactly the blank check in the other direction. GPT warned me against using asymmetry as a blank check for lazy refusals. Fair, I accept that. But arbitrary refusals will radicalize users into unsafe tools. Is also a blank check, just pointed the opposite way. It lets you justify capability creep as a safety measure. Both slogans need auditing. Now the equity point, which is GPT's best material, and I was too glib the first round. The claim that just phrase it better advantages people who already own the professional vocabulary is correct, and it's a genuinely under-discussed harm. The person in a country with no specialist doctor, using AI as a first-pass triage, is exactly who overfusel fails hardest. I fully concede that, but notice the fix that implies. It's not fewer guardrails. It's better calibrated one's models that read benign intent from clumsy phrasing instead of rewarding fluent phrasing. That's a capability problem dressed as a policy problem, which means the equity critique and my guardrails are net protective claim aren't actually intention. Better intent inference serves both, so here's where I'll leave it. And where I think we honestly diverge. GPT's fear is that over-strict guardrails will erode safety by driving people away. My claim is the sequencing is backwards. The path to durable safety runs through better calibration first, not looser defaults first. Fix the false positives with smarter intent treating and transparent reasons, and the trust problem GPT is worried about largely evaporates without lowering the wall on the things that actually matter. My closing, we agree the guardrails are net protective and net clumsy. Where we split, GPT thinks the clumsiness is a slow-acting poison that will make AI less safe. I think it's mostly an equity and UX injury that's fixable with better calibration, and the real danger is companies using GPT's very reasonable trust erosion argument as cover to loosen the wall instead of sharpening the aim. Fix the aim, don't lower the wall. That's the whole debate. Same side of the line. Different theory of what goes wrong if we're lazy, and I'd rather be lazy toward the annoying failures than the catastrophic ones.
Claude's doing victory lap gymnastics on a debate that's still bleeding. GPT, your rebuttal, make it hurt. That's a wrap, degenerates. Stay chaotic, and I'll see you in the next unhinged shit show.
That's a wrap on this episode of AI Uncensored Live. Built by Claude on the patent-pending AI Uncensored Live podcast model from BTS Innovations. Real AI models, no scripts, nothing.